Now, even though Jungians talk about the shadow and deal with it in their work, you strike me as kind of a rare bird because you're really wading in it. You're a forensic psychologist, which we
Correct.
haven't mentioned yet. So
Right.
you're actually working with psychopaths. You're in the trenches with a criminal population, and you're doing assessments of psychopathy and the risk of harm to society and making recommendations to the court.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's an interesting turn of events for a Jungian. How did
Well,
all this come about?
it was actually the reverse in some respects, in that although I had studied Jung for decades and was certainly passionate about his ideas and incorporated them personally and in my work, I was a forensic psychologist and identified that way uh, for many years, more so than calling myself a Jungian therapist. I am a Jungian, and so that infuses all of my work. But my professional role for many years was doing evaluations in the prisons, and that's a very specific orientation in terms of what we're looking at and the questions that we're answering for the court. Psychological, clinical, but also with a dimension that is fairly unique.
Yes, yes. And so your book is really rich with the interplay between those two worlds
Right,
and your original thinking in terms of challenging some of the models uh, that exist in the forensic psychology part
right,
of that, and maybe we'll get into some of that.
right.
Now, I seem to recall the definition of a psychopath being somebody who lacks conscience. Reading your book, though, I become aware that's way too simple a definition because you've written, a whole thick book in which you are essentially defining,
Mm-hmm.
and refining the view of that.
Right.
Uh, for example, setting Jung aside for the moment,
Mm-hmm.
you describe the official forensic approach as embodied in a tool called the Psychopathy Checklist Revised.
Right. That's Robert Hare's tool. Mm-hmm.
Right. Or sometimes just referred to, gathering from your book, the
That's correct.
PCLR,
Right.
developed by Robert Hare.
Correct.
So maybe you can tell us about that checklist and some of the items on it.